Starting. Oh, damn. Welcome to the first official recording of our One Piece discussion. Unfortunately, last week, Hatem and I, we had recorded something on another podcasting software, but we were not able to download the episode. So it's kind of disappointing that we don't have that. Like, I don't have the video and audio of that. So I'm going to try to keep that. I'm going to try to get that out as soon as possible. But for now, this is the first official One Piece discussion episode. I Since last week I kind of thought of a name. Hatem, I want to know if you have any suggestions on this. But like, I feel like I want to call this segment One Piece Madness.
Could go with
What do you
that.
think?
I mean, I still I don't have any names in mind yet. Unfortunately, because our first video is kind of destroyed, that this Mark One video hopefully goes down. But let's
This will
let's see how that goes.
this one will be for the history books. Uh, let's see. Just for a recap for what we lost out on last week, we discussed the chapter 1061, and we just went in deep of that, in depth review of that. But I just want to bring back what made you want to watch One Piece. If you can just say, like, give a brief story of that, because I remember we talked about that as
All
well.
right, because it got cut
Yeah,
off. So
right.
originally in the first video, I said that the first time I heard about One Piece was when I went to my cousin Murtaza's house, and he was playing it on TV, and I felt seemed like it was so stupid of a show, but I looked into it because I'm just like, okay, what the heck's going on? Like, he's a rubber person. Like, what is the purpose of this? And then as I started watching it, and I got interested, and I realized, okay, there's actually a logic behind the reason why things are happening the way they're happening, and then I just kind of built off of that, and I just kept reading while watching, and then I started reading.
That makes sense. And for me, it was just I was trying to get into a big three manga shonen after watching Naruto, and Naruto was like a couple years ago, and I know that One Piece has been like there in the anime world. Sorry, uh, but I was always scared of the length. But like one day, I was just like, screw it, let's just start, and I never looked back. I didn't think I would be this big of a nerd to start a whole podcast series on a manga or anime, but here we are. Uh, yeah,
But One
because
Piece
it's
is better
break.
than Naruto for sure.
I think next time we have a break week, we're gonna discuss One Piece versus Naruto, and I want to bring Aziz on for that because I know he's the biggest like Naruto
Yeah,
stan
I
for
mean,
sure.
yeah, he for sure. But the thing is, it's not like a one for one comparison. Like, I wouldn't say it's a one for one comparison. Like, it's a hard comparison, but like in terms of like a shonen manga, they still fall under that category.
Shonen,
So yeah,
yeah,
it would be fun to compare.
for sure. So Oda Sensei has blessed us with a break week after the chaos that has ensued after the end of Wano. Hatem and I really wanted to discuss chapter 1060 because, yeah, rightfully so, it's chaptered Luffy's dream. I'm gonna get that open. Uh, the biggest thing we want to discuss in this chapter is what do you think Luffy's dream is? And we'll start with you, Hatem.
Honestly, I'm not really sure. So, and I just want to tie into this to the actual like the end game of One Piece. And the reason why I'm saying that is because there's certain theories that I've heard about the ending of One Piece that I feel like don't have a like thematic like strength. Like, it's not as impactful. And I've heard some people make theories for Luffy's dream being like, oh, like he wants a big party, or he wants, to feed everyone. Like, there has to be something unique about the dream that people are like so shocked at it. But it also has to thematically make sense to actually have like a broad meaning to the story that won't undercut everything that's going on. Like, if it's just a
Right.
party, it might not be something so big, and so like it might not be so important, and people say the same thing. Like if I said I wanted to be like a butcher, and then someone else said they wanted to be a butcher too, they'll be like, okay, you want to be a butcher or whatever. Like that's cool, but like there's not anything special about it. It's an occupation that a lot of people have. There's something
I mean,
special
shout
about
out
what
to all the
Luffy's
butchers in the
saying.
world.
Yeah, I'm not trying to sell
Yeah,
any butchers or anything. But like just in general, like there's something unique about it, and there's also a thematic importance to how big things are going and how the world of One Piece is that you want to make sure. I would think Oda wants to make sure that thematically, like it all fits out. Like people talk about like the Grand Line, the Red Line being destroyed, and then everything being together, and like everyone living together. Like that's great, but there has to be something thematically that's above that. So I think Luffy's dream might tie into all of those things as well. Something that's big, but it's also kind of silly too.
so what is it? What is his dream?
What is it? I, I don't know. Like just looking at the chapter, and you just see when you see everyone's reactions, like they're like Nami's like, oh yeah, that's something Luffy would want to do. You know, um, others have like started laughing, like Sabo and like Ace and stuff like that. They started finding it kind of funny. Um,
Yeah,
and even I'm looking at the page, and Sanji's like, hey Chopper, you might want to examine his brain. So like, what is it? What is it like? So it has to be some uniqueness, but something crazy, and it might be something a little bit more noble than Luffy lets on.
right. That's a fair point. Uh, Before this chapter, I had a very strong opinion that his dream was going to be to throw the biggest party in the world. That's after watching Arthur's video, Arthur, the Library of O'Hara. Check his channel out. Amazing analysis. This guy has dedicated his life to One Piece. Um, but now, after this chapter came out, I've been having a lot of doubts because this chapter is the best way to analyze your theory of what the dream is based off the character's expressions. So, for example, if it was a party, right? If the One Piece is a bottle of sake and Luffy's dream is to throw the biggest party, then why wouldn't Zoro be happy about it? Because Zoro is an alcoholic for sure, and he enjoys
Hmm.
parties like there's no tomorrow. But why is Zoro like sweating? He's like worried. Like, what's is Luffy okay? Like in
Yeah,
his mind, he's probably thinking, why did I pick this captain? So uh, that's why I'm having doubts on the whole. The One Piece is a bottle of sake, and the his dream is to throw the biggest party. Because remember, the dream still has to be childish. It has to be immature enough for a kid, a 7 year old kid or an 8 year old kid to believe that he can achieve that. And I was after this chapter dropped, I was watching a few podcasts and like YouTube videos again. And there's a podcast called the Volume One podcast. Have you heard of it?
no.
It's I don't know who the co-host. I think her name is Megan. She brought up that she thinks Luffy's dream might be to make everyone a pirate. And that sounds confusing at first, but when you break it down, piracy has always been an expression of freedom, right? Not just in One Piece, but in the real world too. Like when the Great Age of Pirates in the real world came up, it was because they wanted to travel the sea and get away from their oppressive governments and regimes. So, and also to explore the world. And to dive deeper into that, the reason the way that everyone can be free is if there is another like parallel theory to this where Luffy wants pirates and marines to be friends. Like they want them, he wants them to like gel together. And the reason why Megan brought up this theory is that right before Luffy said his dream in this chapter, he brought up Sabo again, right? So his dream has to be predicated on what was happening in his life at that time. and he was always looking at the conflict between Garp and Garp wanting Luffy to be a marine, and how Luffy wanted to actually be a pirate. So I think there's some kind of childhood, uh, I wouldn't say trauma, but like childhood wish he might have, where Garp would be accepting of him to be a pirate, and if Garp was a pirate too, then he would ultimately be free as well. And I don't know if this analysis is making sense, but like this is what I've heard on the podcast, and this is what another theory I've heard from another YouTuber called Parvision. Both of them have said something similar, where he wants the pirates and marines to be friends, and on top of that, he wants everyone to be a pirate, meaning everyone to be free. And I guess this theory can elicit these kind of reactions because this would make Zoro rightfully worried. Because how do you even make pirates and marines friends? Like the only time we've seen pirates and marines being friends is when Roger and Garp working together to beat rocks. That was the only time. Apart from that, like
or Kobe
it's
and
unheard of.
or Kobe and Luffy.
That's a parallel that's been drawn. So let's see if that actually happens in the future with the Rocky Port incident. I feel like that's going to be
Well, I
something
mean, we
similar.
don't know if Kobe. Yeah, we have this inkling that Kobe might become like a big player, and I even in the recent video that I sent you about the about rocks, like they mentioned, O'Hara mentions that Kobe actually has been in the manga longer than most of the first crewmates have basically been there. Like Zoro wasn't officially even in the crew, and he already knew who Kobe was, and they still had that relation building. So it's actually been a long time. Uh, but in terms of the thing, like, yeah, you're deducing it well that there's still it's a good point. I didn't even think about that. Zoro's kind of shocked, and it's not like he's just laughing like, oh yeah, this is just Luffy. He's kind of like concerned actually. Like that is a very big point. But Nami's like, oh, that's like something you would want to do. It's definitely connected to freedom, but there's also but it has to you're right, it has to be something more childish. Maybe it's like he wants everyone to be friends. You're right. Maybe it could be something like that. I don't know. It's hard to really pinpoint out. It would be interesting when Oda actually drops what Luffy's actual dream is.
Yeah, and this is something that you would have to become the Pirate King, because the other requirement for the dream is that he has to be the Pirate King to do that,
Yeah.
right? So if he gets that much power and status in the world, only then he can empower such a change. So there are like a few parameters to his dream. One, it has to be childish enough for a kid to dream it, and two, now you can actually gauge your theory or your analysis based on the reactions of the crews. Because even Usopp like doubled down on his reaction. He's like, "Come on, there's no way this can happen," and like he's just worried, like, how do you even come up with this kind of shit? So like
Yeah.
it,
And Jinbei
and the
said
other,
Jinbei was just like, yeah, I was gonna say Jinbei even was just like, oh, if I've straddled myself with quite the captain, like I have to be very serious now about this, like, trying to, deal with this. So like, it's something hard, but you're right, it has to be childish because Luffy doesn't think that complicated, but maybe in a sense of the manga, maybe as readers, we also underestimate Luffy's actual intelligence because generally he goes about like he's not smart in the sense of like Sanji, where he can craft like crazy convoluted schemes. He's also not smart in terms of Robin, where he has the historical knowledge. But he's also not stupid in the sense that he can't function as a regular person. Like he just acts a certain way. Like he acts goofy for because that's just his personality. He might be thinking a little bit more intelligent. Like for example, in Wano when he talks to Momonosuke, like certain things that he says, you have to have some type of intelligence or at least like leadership skills to be able to do it. So there's something else that when he's 7 or 8 years old, even if it's something he thought when he was 7 or 8, generally Japanese people kind of view kids a little bit older, like their views like 10-year-olds, like for example Naruto, like they're 12 and they're already ninjas fighting and killing people. So 7 or 8's like they might have a little bit more intelligence, and it's possible that Luffy might have seen something or heard something that stuck in his mind, which is like you pointed out. So it can be a little bit more complicated, but not necessarily like super complicated either.
Is that an actual Japanese thing? Like kids are viewed older?
I mean, generally, just I think they just don't view like from my understanding, and again, anyone who views this can correct me if I'm wrong. Like in anime and stuff like that, generally, like kids, like for example, in Pokemon, you'll be 12 years old and you're like, okay, I'm setting out to the world. Like their views of kids are a little bit different than in the Western world.
In the anime context.
Yeah, like in the anime, I
Yeah.
think it's like in
Actually,
real life too, but like in the anime context, for sure, definitely because they're like 12 years old, and then they'll be like, okay, we're gonna go on this adventure, and it won't be like, oh, we're 19 or we're 18. It's always usually like 12, 13, also to appeal to young kids too, but it just that aspect, it's
right.
a different standard.
Right. Another another huge thing in this chapter, at least in 1060, is the whole Lulusia kingdom being wiped off the face of the earth, or the One Piece Earth, and that was like a crazy reveal. As soon as that happened, many people drew parallels towards the God Valley incident, saying that this is how God Valley was wiped as well, because people are saying it's not on any maps anymore. So that's what people think happened to God Valley. And there's another theory that this is what happened in Enies Lobby, because like there's like just a huge gaping hole at the entrance. So people have theorized like why that hole is there in the first place. But now I think people are maybe trying to theorize that it was the doing of Eam. So what do you think of the whole incident? And is that Uranus?
See, the thing is with the whole destroying the island, it's very probable that God Valley was destroyed this way after the battle, probably after the battle, because they don't want anyone to go there. After, for example, when we see Akainu and what's his name, Aokiji, like when they fight, like all of what's the Punk Hazard's like completely like changed its
Yeah.
environment. It's possible that after Garp and Roger and Rocks fought, they changed that landscape, and the world government's like, we don't want even people to see any ounce of this battle. Let's destroy it. Let's destroy it, and that's what they did. My only big question actually is more, if you had this technology, like we've talked about previously, that what's the point of a Buster Call then? And if they had this, why haven't we seen them use it until now?
Oh, I I think I it took me a while to understand why. This the I think first of all this is Uranus for sure, and secondly there has to be some kind of uh, drawback or limitation to this power. If it's so OP, then One Piece is done. Like there has to be some kind of recoil, or like some kind of way to set it up. It might take a couple of weeks or months to set it up. Because I remember in the before Wano, not before Wano started, but like in the chapter 950s when the reverie was going on, Eam had actually told the Gorosei that we need to start this cleansing and uh, get on with the plan. And that was a few months ago, I think, or a few weeks ago in actual story time, in One Piece time. So if that's the case, then it must have taken Uranus some time to get to the Lucia kingdom, and it must take Eam some time for him to activate the power. The difference between a
Yeah,
Buster
I
Call
mean
and
that's the
this power, Uranus, is the is how you want to portray it in a political way, right? If you go against the government, they're gonna do a big flashy send off or a show that if you defy us, if you try to investigate what the Void Century is, we're gonna destroy you with this monster thing called the Buster Call. But if they want it to be more discreet, if they don't want anyone finding out, then they're gonna use this backdoor kind of weapon to destroy an island and have no one know at all, because there must be something happening at Lulusia that's such a big threat to the world government that they need to destroy it. Because apparently Lulusia Kingdom has been mentioned a few times throughout the manga. Ace was the first time we saw the first time we saw Lulusia Kingdom when Ace visited, and then the next time we saw it was when uh, Bello Berry and the rest of the revolutionaries went to free Lulusia. So there has to be some kind of relevance to this island, and there has to be some secret for which the world government doesn't want the world knowing. Whereas O'Hara was such a big statement because they had like the biggest library. That tree was also pretty significant in the One Piece universe. So they wanted to literally show you that if if we wanna if you try to do anything sus like this, we're gonna destroy you with a buster call. I think that's the reasoning behind the two differences.
Yeah, I think that's logical. I mean, that's how governments function now. You always have your show type attacks, and then you have your secret attacks that you want to do to someone, or like treat people. I mean, the other aspect might be just because you're right, like it's such a big thing. We don't know if it's actually Uranus or if it's actually like a copy that they tried to make, like a false version, kind of a pseudo version. So that's also a possibility as well. um Honestly, like it's very practical that they just would want to show off their might. The only thing is with the other argument for O'Hara is that they don't want people to know that they even knew anything about the Void Sentry. They don't even want people to even say Void Sentry. That would be the best bet. You don't even know that there is a Void Sentry, so you would think that they would want to destroy it. But there's possible that this might be even new technology too, for all we know, that they just have created.
It could be new, actually. Yeah, O'Hara happened like 20 years ago, right? Because Robin at that time was
Yeah,
8. Now she's like 28 or something. So 22 years ago.
yeah,
So it is possible that Vegapunk came up with something. But there was something interesting I saw in another YouTube video. A few YouTubers brought it up, so I can't source one person. But right around the time skip, post time skip, there was like a weird spaceship in the air that had sucked up Beiji's ship. Do you remember?
oh yeah, yeah, I remember.
So people were drawing parallels to that. Maybe they were trying to test it out. So it might have been around for a while. But I think Vegapunk could develop it. Looking at if he's actually 500 years into the future, then it's possible that he can create something like this.
Yeah, I mean, the only issue with that would be how did they destroy God Valley with it? I mean, maybe they did it afterwards. We don't know because, to be honest, no one. It's not like that was publicized. A lot of people don't even know about that battle and that Roger helped. So it's most likely they covered up and then they destroyed it when they got the technology to destroy it. That could be very possible as well.
Yeah, for sure. Man, 1060 was also a wild one. Since the Wano ended, what's been like your favorite chapter? I
I
would
think
say
10-6.
like from 1058, 59, 60. Was 57 also part of that?
I
The
don't
final
remember,
portion?
and I might have to look. I'm actually gonna look back just to check because I don't remember.
I'm also opening it just to look back.
I love the world lore, so I love
Yeah,
all these chapters that they've shown. No, 1057 still kind of Wano.
it's at the farewell. Oh, this chapter was when we found out Yamato wasn't joining.
Yeah,
God damn. Yeah, that was a shocker. But like, okay, so 10, 58, 59, 60. Out of these
yeah.
three chapters, what's been your like favorite one?
I want to say 60, but I think 1059 was pretty crazy itself too,
Yeah.
because that was the cross guild reveal, right? Oh, Kobe. Yeah, I really like the Marines aspect. I'm more of a law and order type of person, so I like when
Mhm.
there's some good guys on the Marines, and we need some good guys on the Marines for when they try to reform the government. So I'm actually very interested in this. And I've seen a lot of theories, YouTube videos talking about why Blackbeard would even need um Boa's fruit. So I think 1059 and 1056 would be good competition with each other.
Yo, can you explain why he needs her fruit? Because bro, you have to be hot. Like you need to be waifu to use this fruit, bro. Like I'm not turned on by Blackbeard.
See, so the thing is, I don't remember if I actually watched the videos people had, but one person did argue that maybe there's a different use for it. Some people, I think I've seen people argue that maybe you just have to have a strong emotion towards the person. So even if it's Blackbeard who takes it, maybe he just has a strong, like, even to hate him, he can still use that ability. The other argument is that he actually has like someone that he thinks he's in mind that would actually fill that void. It's not definitely not Catherine Devon because she's scary, but like there has to be someone like maybe he thinks maybe it would work and it
She's not
actually
hot, bro.
can fit that
Bro, even
fit that
Karina
need.
Devon. Yeah, Karina
Yeah.
Devon's not
See,
hot.
the thing is with yeah, yeah, she's not scary. The thing is with Blackbeard is that one thing people have to keep in mind is that he's actually a devil fruit expert himself. Like he's researched all of these things, so he's very cunning in that sense that he knows exactly how to use those devil fruits. He's planned a lot of. He's weird because sometimes he doesn't plan and he does stupid stuff, but at the same time he also plans meticulously as well. There's those moments where he does stupid things, and then there's moments where he plans rigorously to get to the point that he wants. And for devil fruits, he always knows what he's doing, and he always chooses what fruits that he really wants. So I would assume that with Boa's fruit, he has to have something in mind, and it might be that he knows another way to use it.
The only gripe I have with Blackbeard is that we're not privy to the how he gets his information, which is upsetting. Because like it's just like how do we know that he's getting like how does he know so much? Is what like bothers me because like we don't get any. We haven't gotten much Blackbeard reveals backstory other than him, uh, betraying one of the Whitebeard pirates and then moving on. Like we don't know much about him other than the fact that he's always wanted the devil fruit that he stole. So like how is he getting all of this knowledge and information? Does he have spies everywhere? Has he always been learned? Is it part of the will of the D, where some members of the D clan just get like unlimited amounts of knowledge? Like I want to know, bro. Like just sus.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, I remember from when before he killed I forgot who was on the crewmate for Whitebeard that he killed. I can't remember his name,
Same. I
but
can't remember his name.
I can't remember his name, but it's okay. The main point is, I think he's looked like through a book. He had like some kind of book that he was looking through. Um, in connection with Blackbeard, though, like I think we might get. There's a possibility that if we end up going to, if you Luffy or someone goes to save Kobe, we might get a better understanding of where he's getting his information from. And I remember Oda drew Blackbeard as a young kid, and he kind of was like crying. So there must be something that Oda wants to show later on, connection. And with those devil fruits, there might be something he's looked up, or he's maybe he's been to Ohara too. For all we know, we don't know. Like he could have done anything as a kid, and
Right.
he was a kid at the time. So we don't. There might be that connection might be shown soon by Oda.
My theory is that Caribou is his informant. I think Caribou's on Blackbeard's team.
That could be true too, because and Caribou is the type of person that Blackbeard would want on his side because he can turn like liquidy and hide. I mean, Caribou's always there somehow. He doesn't really do anything, but he's always there.
Yeah, I mean the
So
only reason
he's
he's
a
on
good
the crew
informant.
right now. Yeah, there was something. The only reason he's on the crew right now is apparently Luffy had told him that once we leave Wano, I'm taking you with me. It's not that he snuck on the ship. I don't remember when this happened, but people have said that Luffy had told him that I'm going to take you back with me. Like we're going to leave Wano together because he doesn't
Yeah,
want Caribou snatching up no Hiyori and shit like that. Like that's just and selling her off to the nobles.
Caribou is like a. The thing is, he's like more of a. He's like a half joke character, but it's possible. And we know that obviously there's transpounder snails that you can contact from long distance. So I'm sure there's some way, someone that Blackbeard knows that actually has more knowledge. And there's a parallel of Blackbeard's crew and Luffy's crew. Like they're kind of like the dark version of Luffy's crew. So there might be someone who's smart like Robin too, who might know all this stuff as well on his crew.
My 1059 is obviously crazy because of the Captain Kobe incident, but I really like chapter 1058 with the reveal of how the Cross Guild actually formed. Because we all knew that Buggy is not Yonko status, that he became Yonko just because of Mihawk. And that shows by
Yeah.
Mihawk's bounty being greater than Buggy's. So it's pretty obvious that if Mihawk actually sought the power that other Yonkos they crave, then Mihawk could have easily been a Yonko, but he just wants to live peacefully on his little boat coffin in a random island in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that was a fun
This
chapter too,
this
and
chapter, yeah.
it kind of
No,
just
I'm
keeps
just saying
like
like
that
it's
buggy theme going.
Buggy. We all love. I love Buggy. Buggy is just. I thought like well, so I just finished One Piece in like July. So I really didn't like Buggy in the first arc in Orange Town. So I thought that he was pretty much dead. Like when Luffy like was existence, I thought of that. Okay, this guy's done for. He's kept coming back, man. He's been stronger than ever. Because I had like one gripe.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, I
like, why
know.
don't you just put Buggy's body into the ocean? Like, why not just do that?
That have you
But
ever
they didn't
seen
kill him.
like
What's up?
no, I was gonna say, have you ever seen those on like they have like those memes kind of where they show Buggy looking at a newspaper, he's just like, why do they call me Buggy the Clown? And they're just like, isn't that your name? It's like it's Buggy D Clown, like D as in D initial. They're so funny because everyone who has a the or a D sound, you just assume that it's actually supposed to be the D initial. But he's too
He's
goofy to be a D.
he's not in he's not in the D clan, right? He doesn't have the will of D,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's Buggy Duck. He calls himself Buggy Duck Clown. He's not actually, but the joke is that it's D as in like D initial, but like he's obviously not officially. He's
Yeah,
Buggy the Clown.
yeah. But yeah, do you have anything else to add?
I think, I mean, since we're running up at the 33-minute mark, just to highlight for hopefully next week, Vegapunk's expected to, since we don't have obviously our first, you know, conversation kind of got undercut just to go back with the last 1061 chapter with the meeting of Vegapunk and whether it's actually Vegapunk. And if we, either way, like there should be some expectation because Oda said this before that the mechanics of the devil fruits will be revealed by Vegapunk. So I'm hoping within the next chapter or so we start getting the explanation of how devil fruits actually work. And I'm really curious to know like how the actual function of it, and it might explain more into Blackbeard and how he can actually have two powers at once.
I'm excited for next week, bro. Let's go.
Yeah,
But
so we should have a good review.
I was watching a podcast last week, and something I learned from Mr. Beast is that when you want to end the video, just end it.